Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about attachment. Attachment to the outcome. What is it exactly? And can you manifest with attachment? I will tell you that I have absolutely manifested something fairly big with, big to me, with a degree of attachment. So I would say about 30% attachment. I'm going to explain how that manifested itself for me, not the actual thing, but how the attachment manifested itself and what I learned from that. When I analysed the situation, what I learned from manifesting with attachment and what exactly that is. Okay, before we start, I'm an author and I'm a coach. My books are all listed below and my coaching is available on my website. So my situation, it would be around 30% of the time it was in my conscious awareness. So I was aware of the fact that it wasn't here. So the reality was what it was without this particular thing in my reality. But then I would go times where I would go out with friends, for example, and I would be completely engrossed in what I was doing. So I wouldn't have it in my conscious awareness. Often when we are completely attached to something, we really have that need for that particular thing in our life. We are going about enjoying life, working as we work, mixing with work colleagues, seeing friends, seeing family, having a nice time still, so not feeling all kind of stressed out and het up over it, but we still have that conscious awareness bobbing along in the background, like something behind you. You know, when you can feel the presence of something behind you and you don't definitely know there's something there, but you can kind of feel it. It's like that. There's a often very subtle feeling of the fact that you don't have it. And it's more than that. It's more of, like I described it before, a feeling of what is. And what is what you're describing as what it is what is now. Reality now without this thing in it. That's the feeling. So that could be, so there are two different types of attachment. There is attachment to an outcome where you are desperate for a certain outcome and you do not know how you're going to get on if this doesn't happen. That is one kind of attachment, but that's a little bit different. That's more of a desperation, and that sort of desperation often manifests in that thing that you want, because you want it so much you cannot see any other way. You do not want any of the other options. You have to have this. So you end up having it. And, you know, because that's such a hyper feeling, you know, it's really, really strong, that feeling of that particular thing, outcome that you want. And there will be times in your life when it's not in your conscious awareness and then it manifests. But this is like an underlying feeling. I made a video about this way back and I haven't really talked about it that much since, unless I'm talking to coaching clients about it. But this is the key. What is going on inside of you when you are doing whatever it is you're doing during the day? Is it still with you, even if it's really, really slight? Is it still there? If it is, then that is what is holding you back, because what you are doing is getting a feeling of your life now without this thing in it, and it is coming along with you. It is staying with you all day long, and you are consciously aware of it. When that goes slightly, so when you have times when you don't have it, that is when you congratulate yourself. That is when you give it momentum. That is when you say, how awesome, I have done this. I have had an hour where this hasn't been in my conscious awareness. So in effect, it's been not in your life at all at that point. You have no awareness of the situation at all because you're busy doing something else, and you notice that. So you give it momentum. What you don't do is say, why didn't it come in that time? You don't do that, because then you're giving momentum to the negative, you're giving momentum to the lack, and we want to give momentum to the positive in order to get more of that. And then the more you do that, and the more it's not in your conscious awareness at all, the happier you are probably, because you're completely free of it. Moments of time, you're completely free of it. So when I manifested, I was making myself a cup of coffee. All I was thinking about was this cup of coffee, because I have generally about 2 cups of coffee a day, and I don't do too much more than that. And so I enjoy it, and I have a really fancy coffee machine, and it is a nice coffee. And I was thinking about that, thinking about how I was going to have 10 minutes peace and quiet, and I was looking forward to it. So I was enjoying the thought of having 10 minutes peace and quiet. It was not in my conscious awareness at all at that moment. And then that's when the text came in that led me to get what I wanted. Now, when it happened, I thought, how has that happened? How on earth has that happened? Because I do have attachment to the outcome. I do have that feeling. And then I thought, yeah, but I don't in this moment. So then I look back at other stuff and I thought, aha, and that's this moment I didn't have any attachment because I was doing this or I was doing that. It wasn't, basically it's it not being in your conscious awareness. When it's not in your conscious awareness, that's when it's going to come in at some point. You may have been heavily attached to it half an hour before and really feeling the lack of it half an hour before. But if the next half an hour you're not, and there is a very, I'd say a subtle difference, but it's actually quite a huge difference from what you see. There is a difference between it not being at all in your conscious awareness, so you may as well not know about it in that moment. It may not exist for you in that moment, to having a very subtle feeling of it and being aware of it. Even though it's a teeny tiny subtle feeling, that's huge for reality, because that is just a program ticking over with no stopping, ticking over saying, I don't have this, I don't have this, it isn't here. Basically, that's what that is. That's how I describe that kind of attachment to the outcome. And I don't know if attachment to the outcome is actually the best phrase for it. I guess it kind of is, because if you didn't have attachment to that outcome, you wouldn't have that feeling. But really what you're doing is holding 3D exactly as it is, with an unknowing intention, because your intention is what's ticking over all the time, and your intention is the observation that you don't have it. But it can be so subtle. You'll know it's there. I say it can be so subtle, but you will know it's there. But you'll kind of think, really? Does that have that much power? Well, yes, it does. It really does. So that is what you want to look at reducing. The best way to do it is to notice it, say, I want to have times in the day where this is not in my conscious awareness, so that's your intention to start with. So it's quite gentle, and I want to have 50%, let's say, of my day where it's not in my conscious awareness, because you're completely balanced then. But if you feel like that's too huge for me at the moment, I can't get on board with that, just say 20%, because 20% is better than what you are now, and then it will get better. And as long as you keep giving momentum to those times when you notice them, when you suddenly come out of that and you think, oh, and then you become aware of it again, and then you realize that you weren't aware of it before, even if just for 5 minutes, that is what you give momentum, because the more momentum you give that, the more times you will have like that, the more free of this you will be, the happier you will be, and open to, you'll be in that state of allowing, and something will happen, and it will just be very, very natural. Okay, I hope this was useful. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, then I'd love for you to do that.